Good evening. First tonight, the hot weather and our beautiful coastline combined to become a dangerous draw for thousands this weekend. The RNLI has reported that it was by far their busiest weekend this year, responding to emergency call-outs along the full stretch of the northeast coast.
But the most dramatic rescue was only last night in Saltburn, where a Polish family became trapped by the incoming tide. They were suffering from hypothermia when lifeboatmen finally reached them.
As well as that rescue in Saltburn, which used a lifeboat from Redcar, 3 crews were also called out in Sunderland, as well as in Tynemouth, Sea Houses, Hartlepool and Cullercoats. The charity says all of its missions were successful, but they're preparing themselves for similar busy weekends if the spell of weather continues during the summer months.
Well, let's join Rachel Bullock now, who's live with the RNLI in Redcar for us tonight. Rachel.
Yes, thank you. Well, just take a look at that. It's a beautiful evening here in Redcar tonight, and with the sea stretching out, the temptation is, of course, to go for a swim or perhaps to take out the family dinghy. But after working their busiest weekend so far this year, the RNLI is urging people to beware while enjoying our lovely coastline. It comes after this Polish family was dramatically rescued just a little further down the coast in Saltburn last night. They, like many others this weekend, caught out by the deceptively fast incoming tide. 10:40 p.m. and the police helicopter flies over Huntcliffe in Saltburn, desperately searching for the young Polish family trapped so suddenly by the tide. The man, woman and their 10-year-old daughter are finally found frightened and shivering on the rocks at the foot of the cliff. The helicopter searchlight guides in a lifeboat, but the rocks force the vessel to stay back, so 2 crewmen wade through the water to reach the family who were suffering with hypothermia. They became stranded at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, but only made their desperate 999 call hours later when their own attempts to make it back to land failed. Huntcliffe is a beautiful but potentially deadly landmark here in Saltburn. Tourists enjoy walking around the base of the cliff, but of course the fast incoming tide means that they can find themselves cut off very suddenly. That's what happened to this Polish family, and it's feared that because they're new to the country, they're unfamiliar with the northeast coastline and the dangers it can present. Alex Jarocka is a translator for the northeast's growing Polish community.
Obviously in Poland the sea is completely different, so people who come here, they don't know what's happening. And probably they've been frightened to ring the police as well. They thought maybe it will go within an hour or 2. I do say to everybody, ring the police immediately. Don't be frightened of anything. You will not get into trouble. That could have happened, and all of them could die. I mean, you never know. You can't predict the sea.
But rescuers warn that as we all enjoy our idyllic coastline while it basks in the hot weather, we must equally beware its hidden perils.
You do sometimes get people get stuck around that area because the tide comes in so quick. One minute you think you can get around, the next minute you're stuck. It's quite dangerous around there.
A dramatic rescue by the police there. The emergency services have all been busy, but it was the RNLI who sailed to bring this family back to safety, Rachel.
Well, yes, that's right. And as you saw in that footage taken from the police helicopter, 2 RNLI lifeboatmen got onto the rocks to rescue this family. Well, this is the man who coordinated last night's search, Dave Cox from the RNLI. Dave, thankfully a very happy ending to the story. This family are well, but despite that, a dramatic and frightening ordeal for them and a difficult rescue mission for you.
It must have been very terrifying for the family that were involved. I understand that their English wasn't very good, and in fact they weren't too sure even how to raise the alarm. So it's very fortunate that they did manage by contacting some friends to raise the alarm through the police, and then the lifeboats were launched to carry out the rescue.
It's been another blazing hot day here today. We've got the rest of the summer to look forward to. Presumably, though, hot weather means more work for the RNLI. Are you prepared for that?
The RNLI is always prepared for that. We're aware that the warm weather always brings extra people down to the seaside, and particularly in the areas like Redcar, where we've got the cliffs where people can be cut off and the rocks where people can be cut off. We're always ready to carry out the rescues when we're called.
Obviously, we want to enjoy our lovely coastline here. What tips, advice do you have for doing that safely?
There's some very basic advice that people should always follow. Always check the times of the tide so that you don't get cut off on the rocks or at the cliffs. Always use the beach where the lifeguards are patrolling, where you see the yellow and red flags. And if you're going to go to sea in a boat, make sure that you've got all your equipment checked out and is operating properly, and make sure that you have at least life jackets, flares and a VHF radio to call for help if you so need it.
Dave, thank you very much for your time this evening. Some excellent advice there. Of course, we live in a beautiful coastal region. No reason why we can't make the very most of that, but to do so safely. Back to you.
Thanks very much, Rachel, and well done to the RNLI in Redcar.